welcome to the Fiber Tales podcast. My name is Lærke, and this is a podcast all about knitting, about knitwear design, about my life as a small business owner. Yeah, pretty much anything I feel like talking about on this small space that is my podcast. I'm coming to you from the southern part of Fyn in Denmark, where I live with my partner and our two small children. It's been Easter holiday here since last time I recorded, and spring is very slowly arriving. But I thought I would keep all the, let's say, more personal stuff to the end today, because I have a lot of things I want to talk about. And if you're here more for knitting stuff, I think it's nice to get started with the knitting. I have 2 finished objects today that I want to show you, and I have some news, and I thought I would start out with the news first. So yeah, let's get into the news. The first news, and if you are on Instagram, you probably already follow Laine, so you know about their book called 52 Weeks of Shawls. But if you are not, then I can tell you that I have a pattern in there, and what happened is this weekend they decided to release a picture of my shawl that's called, I can post it here, it's the Elf Shawl, and it is a shawl that I knit I think a year ago already. So it was kind of surreal, because I was very focused on the shawl a year ago. Then I kind of had to put away my excitement for a bit, because it takes some time before I send it off to Finland, and then they had to take pictures, and all the patterns had to be tested and edited and all that stuff, and it actually was postponed a little bit. So all of a sudden I was on the playground yesterday with my kids, and it was raining and really miserable. And then I just saw that they posted the picture, and I got so much love from you guys and excitement about the pattern and the book, and yeah, it was really great. So it felt very nice to finally be able to share this with you. And this shawl is I was really excited to see how you would receive this shawl, because I find it's a bit different from what I normally have made. It's maybe a bit more abstract, I think, but maybe it's just in my own head. I have released already a couple of patterns in the same style that are, I feel I'm very bright, just a second, the other way, okay. I have released a few patterns already in this style that are colorwork shawls knit in the round. They are shaped like, let's say, as you maybe know, increasing on the center and the sides to get this more crescent-shaped shawl, like triangular shape, but it's all knit in the round, so you stick it in the end. And I know some people find that very scary, but it's really a lot of fun. So yeah, you stick it in the end, and then you that just makes the whole process of, and then you pick up the sides and hide the stick and make it secure, but it just makes the whole process of knitting colorwork a lot more fun. Also, I got to work with some very special yarn for this design, so I contacted Annabelle Williams. She makes the most beautiful hand-dyed yarn, naturally dyed, and we found out together what colors it should be, and I had some ideas, and she made the colors, some of them specifically for me for the shawl. And yeah, it's a very deep indigo kind of, it's some almost brown undertones on the top, and then it has the sandy color in the middle, like this beige sand color that's very natural. And now I'm dark again. We have some clouds coming and going today, so I would probably go in and out of brightness. And then there's a light pink at the bottom that is very beautiful. And yeah, I got inspired by the bohus tradition, and if you know that, it's a Swedish knitting tradition where you knit colorwork, but you also add in some pearl stitches in the colorwork to give it some texture, and I really love how that looks. So I wanted to try out how I could work a kind of colorwork bohus style in a shawl, and it worked out really well. I find yeah, just a handful of people have seen this shawl. I mean, at Laine they have seen it, of course, and the dyer, and also, of course, my testers, who did an amazing job and have been very patient as well, waiting for the shawl to be released, or at least like that they can show their samples. I think all of the patterns will be released on Ravelry, like not for sale, but so you can see the pattern pages on Ravelry on the 16th this month. So you can go and check them out and look at them a little bit better. Yeah, it was just, it feels so good that it's finally out and I can talk about it, because sometimes when I'm knitting on things that I cannot talk about, it's like for podcast and so on, it's just very quiet. Anything else I wanted to say about the shawl? The pictures are of course beautiful, that they always take beautiful pictures at Laine, so I'm excited for you to see also the rest of the pictures. I already saw some, or maybe all of them, I don't know. And yeah, I think that's more or less it for this news. Actually, I recorded this podcast on Friday, and this is actually the third time I'm recording this podcast, which is ridiculous, but I recorded it on Friday, and then the news came out this weekend. And so today, when I sat down, today's Monday, and I sat down to edit that footage that I took on Friday, and I realized that I wanted to talk about the shawl as well, because it's so exciting and I couldn't talk about it. So I decided to re-record this episode, and I recorded it some hours ago, and then I looked at the footage and I was just feeling very bad, because this morning I was in this weird Monday spring mood that happens to me pretty much every spring, and I cut my bangs a little bit, not much, but just a little bit, but then I didn't realize that I put up my hair in a bun, and after recording the whole podcast, I mean, I looked like something straight out of Bridgerton. And if you don't know what it is, that's a series on Netflix. I don't know, I just look like some costume drama person, and I didn't really feel like myself, so I was laughing so hard. And talking to Jule from Woolen Twine, I always send her voice messages and complain about stuff. She's the best person to listen to my rants. And she was laughing so hard too. So I decided, it was not because what she said it was fine, but she was the one saying I look like something out of Bridgerton a little bit. So I decided, that's why the mood is also a little bit, I might be a little bit weird and silly today, but that's just recording this for the third time. So I hope I remember to say everything, because once I've recorded already once and twice, I sometimes don't know if I said it already or so there might be some things like that. But yeah, the second news is something I'm also really excited about, and that is on Thursday I finally got an email about my yarn being ready from the spinning mill. If you're new to this channel, I have yarn spun from my parents' Gotland sheep, from their fleece. My parents have a small organic farm, and we always had Gotland sheep, and so some years ago I decided to try to have it spun up to sell it, just because it's such a beautiful yarn and I want to share it. And yeah, I've been managing to sell the yarn twice a year. So the sheep are sheared in the fall and in the spring. And in the fall there's a bigger batch because they're the lambs as well. My parents don't have many sheep. I think they have 6 mother sheep and a ram, and then they have lambs. As you will have seen in the beginning, I put some footage of the little lambs, and they're so cute. Almost all of the lambs have been born, and one of them had triplets, which is not so common, and they were just all new. They're like 2 days old in that clip. And you can see the colors. They are quite dark gray, Gotland sheep. And so I had wool spun up. That was what I was telling. I had wool spun from the fall, but it took really long time this time, so it wasn't ready. I thought it would have been ready already, but no. I think at last episode I mentioned that I expected to have it by the end of March, but then Easter hit and they didn't manage to have it ready before Easter. So anyways, I went to pick it up on Saturday So very exciting. And should I show you? It's actually behind me. Oh god, I'm so bright. I don't look so much at myself when I'm recording. I'm trying to look into the camera, and I have a little screen next to the camera where I can see myself, but if I keep looking at myself, I find it very distracting, so I force myself not to look there, and then I don't see when I look all crazy. Anyways, I have the yarn here, which is this beautiful, just look at it. I'm so happy. I managed to get a very light gray and a very charcoaly, like a medium light gray and a charcoal this time. Yeah, so what was I saying? They called me and it was ready. I still don't have all the yarn because we couldn't fit it in the car when we were going home from my parents. So I have to, they will drop it off on Tuesday, and then on Tuesday I can kind of count all the skeins and figure out when I can do the shop update. So for now I will just show you these two skeins again. This is the, yeah, they're both a mix of Gotland, so the organic Gotland from my parents, which range from pretty much this color to this color. So last time, since it was a big batch of fleece, I made two piles, one that was dark and one that was light, and then I asked if I could have, so this one has white mixed in and this one has dyed black yarn mixed in. Not yarn, sometimes the words for wool and yarn, they keep mixing up. Has dyed wool mixed in, and last batch I had spun, I managed for the first time to make it 100% local to me and 100% organic fleece that's in the yarn, and I did that this time as well. So last time it was a worsted weight yarn. They're both woolen spun, but it's a worsted weight yarn, and it was a DK weight. Sorry, it was a worsted weight. That was oh god. Sorry. Yeah, it was a worsted weight last time, and it was like a more medium gray, and this time it is a DK weight, so I'm back to the one I had before. I don't know if you can see, it's actually not a DK weight. If you look on the yardage, it's 275 meters of per 100 grams, but I work it as a DK because this yarn, it kind of puffs up, like gets very fluffy, so I feel like if you knit it too tight it gets a little more stiff. It's always hard to explain Gotland yarn, but it's more of a hard yarn, so it feels very strong and sturdy, and yeah, so I don't want to knit it, I don't like knitting it on too tight needles, and then the Gotland kind of gets this halo, so if you knit it too tightly, it just, yeah, it's not necessary. So I treat it as a DK weight, and I have it on the label, it's a DK weight. Yeah, I'm just very happy with how it turned out. It's a little less soft, it's a little more rustic this time compared to the last time. It's a 50-50 mix, I don't know if I said that, so it's a 50 Gotland and 50 of the other yarn, and this yarn is I think it's a mixed race, like a white sheep, I don't know what race it is. It's the sheep he has at the Hjelholt Uldspinderi, which is the spinning mill. So he has his own sheep, and they grass on different areas, and now everything, all the production is, I mean, the production is not organic. There's no I don't know how they would certify the production of on the mill, but all the sheep are kept organically, and the fields they're on are organic, so it's 100% organic wool that's in the yarn, and certified. Both my parents and their yarn is certified. And in Denmark we have quite strict rules about that, so it makes me really happy that we managed to get here, and all the yarn comes from a very small area, and the mill as well, so there's no shipping involved in, like, everything is made here where I live and picked up by car, and everything is within like a half an hour radius. So yeah, that just means so much to me that we could get to this point. I was saying it's not so it's a little more rustic because of the wool they mix in this time is not so soft as the Romney, I would say, but it's more like an outer garment thing. You could probably make shawls, but maybe more for not wearing so close to the skin. I don't know. Everybody has different. Everybody feels different about. Has different wool sensitivity, but I would say, of course, it's on the more rustic side of things. And what more to say? I will probably talk a little bit more about the characteristics and stuff in the next episode. I will try to do an episode before I put out the yarn. So I don't know when the shop update will be, but I will try to put out an episode for when I know it's ready. And also you can have the information will be, of course, on Instagram, but if you don't follow or don't use Instagram, then you can go to my Etsy shop, and there's a little thing above the shop that says, I think it still says the last shop update, and then once I have the date, I will add it in there. So you should be able to get the information somewhere. I know someone asked me if I will do a newsletter, but I have a lot of things going on right now, and adding a newsletter to that list of things is just not something I want to do right now. But I thought about maybe I could do like a spoken newsletter, so just like a mobile phone recording, nothing that takes too much time, and just like a video with news, a little bit like the podcast, but just more low-key, and just to send it out as an email. But I haven't figured that more out, so maybe if that's something that sounds interesting to you, and I would actually really like to know, would you like a newsletter? Because I don't read newsletters. I get newsletters from different places that I love, but I never read them. So for me, it's not something I don't know if it's worth the time. So let me know if you're a newsletter person and if you would like a newsletter, and I would look maybe more into it. But you just have to keep up with my different channels, and hopefully you will get the info. Normally they sell out quite quickly, and it's because it's a small batch. There are really not that many sheep, and it's just that's the wool there is. But now, since I'm mixing it 50-50, I actually get more per every time I have it spun, so that's a good thing. What was I saying with that? I will probably split the shop update into 2 or 3 shop updates. So if you don't manage the first one, then there will be a next one, and so on. So with these 2 colors, I think that's enough about my yarn. But I'm always so excited, and it's just something so rewarding seeing the sheep, the little lambs being born, and then having this yarn made. That is just so special to me. So yes, let's talk about some finished objects, shall we? I'm wearing one of my finished objects, which you maybe have noticed, and let me show you just a little bit. It's a huge shawl, and I will show you more details, but let me talk about the yarn first. So more yarn talk. This is the plaid. And as you can see, it's a little bit messy because I've been knitting from it. If you like rustic yarn, you probably know about this yarn already. This is the Nutiden yarn. Nutiden, me and my Swedish pronunciation. Danish and Swedish are very similar languages, but then the pronunciation is different. Nutiden or Nutiden means like the present moment. And this is a special yarn from Höna och Eja. And that is a Swedish spinning mill and yarn brand. They dye the wool and spin this beautiful unspun, I don't know, let me see if I can show you a little bit more. It's an unspun yarn, much like the Plotolopi, and it comes in plates of 100 grams, and I was so lucky to get some in the last update. This is the Wildspor colorway, and it's a very beautiful colorway. It's like a warm, now the sun is out again. It's like a very warm gray natural color, and then it has these pink, like it's actually red that's mixed in, but since it's mixed in very lightly, it looks pink, and then there's a bit of yellow in there. So a very interesting colorway, and it looks different when you're very close to it and when you pull a bit away. So yeah, it's very difficult to photograph, so I hope I can make it justice. And it's wonderful to work with. It's a bit softer than Plötulopi, as it is it's different fleece they use. It's not Icelandic wool. And they make it, I think, different each time, so varies in thickness and yardage and stuff. You can read more about that on the website. So as you can see, I actually had a bit of an issue with this center because I was knitting with 2 strands, so I'm pulling both from the inside and the outside. So I finally just pulled out the center and made a ball that doesn't look that pretty anymore. So I was holding it double, and when you hold it double, it's a bit easier. It doesn't break as easily, but it still breaks on me a couple of times, especially when I'm working on a big piece that I am turning around, and then it often breaks. Not when I'm knitting with it as much, that's not the issue, it's more when you're handling it. But I got a trick from, I don't remember where I got it from, but there's a trick that you can actually wind a ball first with the 2 strands held together, and then when you're knitting, you're not pulling that single strand, because as you can see here, I have 1 strand in the middle that's easy to break and 1 strand on the outside that's easy to break. But if you make a ball, if you make a ball first, well, I'm not gonna show you that ball, that's not a good example, but if you make a ball first, it's much easier to wow, this light is really changing. It's much easier to knit with it. So I worked this shawl. I got the idea. So winding back a bit, on the last episode I didn't show you the yarn because I actually had received it, but I couldn't show you yet. I was waiting for the release of the yarn, and they release it in small batches as well, and they had a spring release with these beautiful colors, and but I already started working on it, and it's actually, the shawl is a continuation of or like a play of, if you remember, my Jedra mitts, and I had a headband as well that have this braid, the garter stitch, the braid, and this kind of leaf motif running down the center. And I really like this motif, but I think it's very condensed because I wanted it to be on a small mid and also on a headband. So I worked around. I will show you the swatch so you can kind of see how I played around with it. So this is the swatch, and I played around with spacing it more out, and then I got in the mood to add some bubbles, so it kind of creates like a little flower. I also tried this one out, but then I left that one. And the shape, you can kind of get an idea for the shape. So it's shaped by casting on the bottom, and then you only decrease on one side. That means you get a big, like a triangle. So let me see if I can show you. So you get this triangle like this, like this. So you only decrease on the one side. You kind of cast on here. This is like, should be a straight angle, and then you decrease. And then what you do is at the end you turn the shawl, and then you can wear it like a triangular shaped shawl. I hope that makes sense. So let me show you a little bit, because I've been talking a lot about it. So yeah, it's just a lot of garter stitch and these long braids that you actually work when you're binding off. And at the bottom edge we have this long row of these little leaf motifs, and little flower, and again a leaf and a flower. So I played around with the same stitch patterns as I did the last time, but I kind of changed it up. So that's also why I'm not naming this shawl the Jedra shawl, because it's not exactly the same. So instead, when I was working on it, it was early spring. It's still early spring. It's really, everything has slowed down. And I thought the name Gro, which means grow, was really fitting for this shawl. Gro is also a girl's name, so you can use it as a name. And I just really loved how it, I thought it was really fitting for this shawl. Let me show you a little bit more of the shape. Maybe I can, it's really hard because I'm at a wall here. But yeah, it's like a big triangular piece, and it grew so much after I blocked it, because Yeah, the yarn is unspun, so it kind of has a lot of give. You can see you can also wear it as a big shawl, and I really like a big scarf. I'm not gonna fit in, I cannot go more back, so that's pretty much just what you can see. But I love that it has these lines that shows when you wear it, kind of giving it a beautiful shape. And it's just the coziest thing ever. I've been wearing it when I sit in front of my computer and work, and I can't wait to wear it in the garden. I think it would be a perfect like sitting outside knitting shawl, because it's just so big and cozy. And yes, it has a bit of itch factor, but it's not much. And if you wear it more as an over-the-shoulder shawl, and on cold days when you don't get sweaty, so for me the itchy, I always feel like wool is itchy when I'm wearing it. For example, when I'm in if I go in and out from a house, I mean, right now my life is really calm, but if, for example, when I was working as a teacher and I would walk around from classroom to classroom and stuff, I would get really warm and sweaty, and then wool would be itchy. I don't have that issue if I'm just wearing it when I'm not stressed, or like, yeah, I don't know how to explain that. But when you're in the same, when you have more like a steady temperature, it's not a problem. And I have a hair in my mouth. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Anything else I want to say about the gros shawl? It is, I'm actually going to look for a couple of testers, so if you're interested, you can send me a message. Maybe on Instagram is the easiest now. I only need a handful, so I will just take a few, because for a shawl, excuse me, I have a hair in my mouth. For the shawl, I don't need that many testers, since it's just one size. And hopefully it can come out in the late spring, early summer. I don't think it matters when you knit this, because it's just absolutely beautiful for like wearing. At least where I live, it's still chilly in the summer, so it doesn't really matter. Yes, and that was that. I probably forget something, since I've been saying the same things over and over. And I have another finished object that is here, and as you can see, it's actually very much in the same color family. So this one is more of a warm, with a little bit of a warm tone, and this one has this almost lilac-y tone, but it's still the same colors. It has yellow in it, it has red, I think it has more blue, and then it has this on this natural base. And this is knit out of the linen quill from Pearl Soho that I got 2 skeins some years ago, when my friend went to New York and she brought them home for me. And I knit this up, and it has just been in a bag ever since, because I got a bit stranded on the pattern, and I thought now was a good time to pull it out. Actually, I should probably have done it earlier, because it would be perfect for spring. But that's just sometimes how things go. I pulled it out of the bag because I began working with tech editors that also help me with the grading. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how it works the best for me, but because of that, I actually have someone who can help me with the grading, because that's why I got stuck last time. Yeah, let me show you. So it's a small t-shirt pattern, and it has a lot of ends hanging out, because I left it. I used up I think this is what's left from the second skein, so I pretty much just used the whole thing. And it is knit in a contiguous way, so you kind of knit the whole shoulder construction all at once, and the sleeves look like satin sleeves, but I also knit at the same time as everything else. It has a very simple eyelet pattern running, I cannot see, like this, running down the front and the back, so all over pattern. So it just looked like something simple, but the contiguous method and like writing up the pattern, you have to keep everything in mind at once. And I had managed in my size to get the lines to, like the pattern to meet up beautifully on both front and back, and for some reason I think it stopped for a moment, but my brain, for some reason, I had some issues figuring out how to get it to work. So I just pretty much had to abandon it. I remember I made all these sheets where I tried to draw out the different sizes, how maybe now I would know more, but I think I'm going to try to send it to one of those tech editors that helped me. It has a little bit of a puff sleeve, not so much once you wear it because you kind of stretch it out, and then it has ribbing on the bottom that gives this very vintage vibe, but I still think like with a very modern look with the yarn and so I'm excited to get this started again. Hopefully I can have it out for the summer, and the fall would be nice with a t-shirt pattern. It's just a pity that it was lying in a bag and I've never used it because I was kind of frustrated with it. So yes, this is going to come out. It has no name. It's just called the Eyelet Tee in my notes, and hopefully it will have a name before we're done. Wow, I'm sorry about the light. Sorry, it's not really something I can change, but it was much better earlier, but then I looked like someone out of Bridgerton and I just didn't feel comfortable with that. Yeah, now the light is coming back. Yeah, so those are my two finished objects. I know the second one is a bit of a cheat because I didn't finish it now, but I finished it at some point. And then I finished my tweed sock. I just did the toe, and yeah, nothing super special. I showed it in my last episode, and I ripped back the second one to reknit the heel, and of course now it looks all lumpy and not very nice, but hopefully it will block out, and I mean it normally does. And I'm working with the spaghetti yarn on my 9-inch circulars, and actually this is all I've been knitting on in the weekend because I finished the shawl at the end of the week. I blocked it and I didn't have anything new, and in the weekend, since I'm mainly with my family and there's not much time for anything else, I just didn't have brain space to start a new design. So you can actually see a little sneak peek of what I'm going to work on next on my Instagram, which is going to be something with color work. Actually, I think there's not going to be any more color work than the one I already knit, and I'm excited to work on that, but it just needs some... I need to have some brain space to sit and do all the calculations. About the tweed socks, I just wanted to say it's the Lana Grossa tweed sock yarn, and I can't wait to have them because I really need some more knitted socks. Yes, that's all for the knitting, I think. Yeah, but that's quite a bit. I'm really happy with the pieces that I have shown, and excited for getting some patterns ready so I can release them soon. I don't think I will have any patterns this month, but I should have in May. I should have a pattern coming out in May if everything goes according to plan. And yeah, the rest will be a little more private personal stuff, what we've been doing during the holidays. So if you're not here for that, then I will see you in the next episode. And if you think it's fun to hear a little bit about Easter and stuff, then just keep on watching. Easter has been... It's always a funny holiday for me because I'm, as I said many times, I think I'm not really religious, not at all, and Easter is not that big of a deal in Denmark, as Denmark is a Protestant country. Easter is not that celebrated. Christmas is a big deal, not so much for religious reasons, but it just has a very big and important role for us. And Easter is more like it's cozy, but not so special. So normally what we do for Easter is we go to Poland to visit my family. My partner is from Poland, so we go to Poland to visit his parents. And but Poland is in a really bad place right now with COVID, so that's not really something we would like to do. And here things are a lot better actually. We got this app on the phone, so we can have this, is called a Corona Pass, and then you can, if you are either vaccinated or you have a recent test, you can pretty much go and start to go to a cafe or stuff again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to life being a bit more normal, and hopefully I will be vaccinated sometime around June. So we will see. I'm in one of the last groups because of my age and stuff. And yeah, so we were just here for Easter and with the kids home. The weather was kind of cold and has been really weird this spring. It's been very cold and not so nice. But we had one good day where we went to a small island called Bjarnøy, and I will try to insert a little clip here because it was such a beautiful day. So Bjarnøy is just like a little island. There are a lot of islands where I live. I live on an island, but on the south of that island there are a lot of smaller islands. But I never been to Bjarnøy. I think it's really small. It's like 36 people living there. And you can take this tiny ferry that goes from Faaborg, which is a town on the coast, out to the island. It takes 20 minutes, and the ferry can have like one car on it, like a smaller car, and 10 people or something. So it's tiny. And the kids just loved it because it's like 20 minutes ferry ride is enough for them to feel excited and not get too bored. And then we were there all day, and there was a small beach. There were even some kids going to swim. It was still cold. I think we were at 16 degrees, so finally we had like double digits and feeling really positive about spring. And on the island there's this old man who put out a bunch of old trampolines, which is probably like totally dangerous. And if someone came to look at it, like on playgrounds, you have these people who come to check on them. I don't know if it would be legal, but you know, on a small island, it's a different vibe. And he had this little ice cream shop, so we went, and you just call him, and he would be walking around on his property, and he would come and you could buy an ice cream. So the kids were really happy, and that was a very nice day. And yeah, then after that it went back to like 1 or 2 degrees and hailstorms and snow and terrible weather. Yeah, so the only thing we did for Easter is we went to my parents' place and had some Easter lunch, which is you normally do. And then we tried to make some eggs, and I wanted to show you because I managed to make some eggs for the first time from our chickens that have these colored eggs. So I didn't dye them, they are in the natural color. And the first one is it's this beautiful minty green blue, and I added a pressed snowdrop to it with some hodgepodge, I think it's called, like some glue. So that was interesting. I know some tricks for the next time, but I think it turned out quite sweet. And so we emptied the inside of the eggs out. Oh, I'm really dark again. And I also made another one. This is the natural brown color, and again I glued some snowdrops onto the egg. Yeah, I just think they're quite cute. So we made some of these with the kids, and with my girl, because the little one, he's still 2 and not really good for these kind of activities. And I showed her for the first time one of the things we make for Easter is this thing called we make this thing for Easter called gækkebrev. That's also a tradition where you're supposed to send this cut out letter to someone you know, and you put your name in dots, and they're supposed to guess. And I can show you, this is an example I made just very quickly, nothing too amazing, but just so you can get a feel for it. So I kind of cut out all these shapes from paper and tried to cut out a snowdrop, and yeah, just whatever you feel like. And then you're supposed to write your name and a little poem. So the poem could be, I made another one that is on a round one, and my partner made one just because we were all making them, and this one my daughter made with some help. So yeah, they're a lot of fun to make, and to make different shapes. And you put the little poem, and you're supposed to put a pressed does that help? Yeah, it's going to be like that. You're supposed to put like a pressed snowdrop in them and send them to someone who can guess who made it. And if you guess it, you get an egg, and if you don't guess it, the person who sent it gets an egg. So that's a nice Easter tradition that we do. And yeah, we didn't do so much else. And then we went to the town to get a school bag for my girl, because this she's turning 6 this summer, and the year they turn 6, they normally start school. But she went from kindergarten to a kind of a preschool thing already. On Tuesday they started, which is pretty much just taking the kids from the kindergarten and placing them instead in the school. But they're not in a classroom, they're still outside pretty much all the time because of COVID. So they're outside and they still just spend the day playing and doing like songs and stuff like that. But they are getting used to the area of the school, and then in August they start properly. But since she needed to bring a lot of stuff with her every day, then we decided to get her a school bag. And the shops had just opened, so it was actually perfect timing, and we went in and she was so excited to go and pick out her school bag. And I tried to guide her a little bit not to pick out the most terrible one, but I also have this thing, like I have my aesthetic and I like it very much, but she is free to do whatever she wants. I'm not gonna push my aesthetic onto her. So she got the most purple school bag with unicorns and a rainbow on it, and she was so happy. She showed everyone in the family the bag. Okay, now I'm dark again. So it was just such an experience seeing her so happy with the bag. And so it was very exciting. And on Tuesday she started and it went fine. She's with the same kids that she already knows, so there's not really a lot of things going on. The only thing is I'm biking for much longer because it's pretty far away at the school, and before I could normally go and pick up both kids and come home in 1 hour, and now it takes me at least 1.5 hours. With everything, also because I cannot enter the school, so she has to pick up her own stuff and come out, and yeah, that's interesting. Some days she doesn't come out for a long time, and then I have to find another adult, and yeah, COVID just makes things a little more complicated. And the weather has just been really bad. It's been raining and hailing and snowing. We had a lot of snow again. Nothing that stuck to the ground, just like snow falling randomly, and like 1 degree, 2 degrees. And it looks like it's finally changing. So today we have sun, and it looks like it's gonna be warmer from now on. So we're finally going up again a little bit in temperature. So it's very exciting. I'm really ready for spring, also because I work as a photographer next to my knitwear designing, and it's been really hard going out and shooting families and stuff when it's really bad weather. But now we have anemones in the forest, and I had a little session the other day, and there was a 1-year-old girl who was picking them, and it was just so sweet. So it is very exciting I feel very ready for spring, let's say. So I hope you are doing great, and I hope you feel ready for spring too. And now I will get this episode out. I'm not gonna re-record it ever again because it was too many times. I hope you take care. Bye.